What is up, you beautiful gamers, and welcome back to Role-Playing James. This is Mariel Kona in the internet, where we sometimes like to talk about video games. And when we sometimes like to talk about video games in this channel, sometimes like to talk about rumors and deep dives about like the news of the upcoming games that like have a high chance of happening. That's something that we do in this channel, and what do you know? Diablo 2 Resurrected is actually happening. Something that's also happening is that Zelda Skyward Sword Remaster that I called back in the day when I started this channel, Dragon's Dogma 2, and that's because most of the cases we like to focus on rumors that have a substantial credibility. No, Elden Ring does not enter in this category. We just talk about Elden Ring for the sake of it because goddamn, yes, I could just give us the game already, but I mean, anyways, let's talk about Diablo 2 Resurrected. Let's talk about what you guys can expect from this remaster, from this remake. Yeah, it's a remaster. I'll talk about a little bit deeper into that later in the video, but for now, let's talk about some of the specific details that interest us in this one. Now, this remaster is being made by Vicarious Visions. I already talked a little bit about them in my previous Diablo 2 Resurrected video, but essentially, they are now a subsidiary of Blizzard, and previous to that, they work on the Crash Bandicoot and Tony Hawk remakes. Diablo 2 Resurrected will be launching everywhere, literally everywhere. Last-gen consoles, current-gen consoles, Nintendo Switch, and PC. And that being said, there's a little bit concern about the development process and the faithfulness of the game because of, well, you know, Warcraft 3 Reforged, but I think it's safe to say that there's nothing to fear about this one. Take a look at this interview with Rob Gallerani, principal designer at Vicarious Visions. Quote, when it comes to things that could even be perceived as bugs, there are things like if you stand in this one spot during this one boss fight, this boss can't get to you. It's like, okay, well, yes, that's a bug. I seriously doubt that was what the original creators intended, but it's become such a well-known thing that people can do that we're like, okay, we should keep it. Or even translations, when they were translated to French originally, they were not really a real translation. They just put the word le in front of it. It's like, okay, well, it's probably a poor translation, but at this point, for 20 years, that magic item in France is known as that thing, so we don't change that. Yeah, when Rob was asked that, pretty much he meant that all of these cheeses we used back in the day and still in the game, like they are still there, he responded, quote, yes, even down to balances, right? So obviously the game has been rebalanced over the years, so if you haven't played it for 20 years, it will be changed, but as of live Diablo 2 right now, that's balance we're going with. So if you like your Hammer Paladin is still pretty awesome. Now this is something really goddamn nice to know, because we like to complain a lot. Let's be honest, we always like to complain about like those little thingies. For example, like something like that happened to the Resident Evil 3 remake. We don't talk about that game in here. Now, I mean, there's just the slightest change. When you make a remake, when you make a remaster, what you appeal is that you're appealing to our nostalgia. And if you change things that we, as young persons of the video gaming world, perceived as something that was pretty much unique to us. For example, I'm not saying that this thing is going to happen, but imagine Ceaseless Discharge boss fight in Dark Souls. I always cheese that motherfucker. Please forgive me, but I always do. I steal like the witch's clothing, and then he's like, "Hey, motherfucker, come back with my sister's clothes." Now I run up to the entrance of the level of the boss fight, and he falls down into the lava, and it's fucking hilarious every single goddamn time, dude. When they change those little things that are like, they are bugs, they are not intended to be in the game. But I mean, it's we, the gamers, the community, we made it part of the game, so it's nice to see them keeping all that stuff. The things that they did touch a little bit are quality of life improvements, like shared stash, item comparison, linking an item in the chat. The linked item will show its stats when you move your cursor over it, so you can show people what you have and what you want to trade, or just to give them to your friends and they can like see the stats from the chat before you actually drop the item into the ground. Easier inviting to lobby, auto join party when you log in. Essentially, they're just like not changing any core stuff on the game, just little things around here and there that make it easier to navigate it and enjoy it. The previously mentioned, of course, leads to trading, which is still going to be the same as it was in the original Diablo 2. You can tell people what you have, what you're offering, and stuff like that. Link your gear in chat, but you still have to meet with the person in-game to drop the item you're trading. And yeah, well, this is a little bit chaotic, and I understand that there are way better systems of trading in gaming nowadays. This was a little bit of like, I don't know how to describe it, but it was chaotic, dude. You can be like cheated. Someone will tell you, hey, I have this cool armor, we're going to drop the greenies, the cashews, the money, and then I'll drop the goodies at the same time. We pick them up and we are going to be like happy and merry with our money and our items. And sometimes you or either you drop not the sum of money that you were supposed to, or not drop the item that you were supposed to. It's a little bit chaotic, but it's still like something very Diablo 2 that makes sense. I wouldn't have it any other way, actually. On the cross-platform gameplay, PvP leaderboards will be there, but not immediate play against other platforms, even though they do have cross-progression, yet they did not discard the possibility to like have cross-platform in the future. Quote is something that we looked at for sure as part of looking at cross-progression, but the cross-progression was the clearest indication of what we should be doing. And so crossplay is something we continue to look at, but it's not something that's going to be there at launch. Now, let's talk about the actual changes of a remaster. When we talk about remasters and remakes and re-releases, there's a lot of confusion because many companies, they do whatever the fuck they want to do and then they name it after like whatever the fuck they want to name it. But essentially, when we talk about a remake, it's a game that's being made from the ground up. From the very ground up, every single asset, every single little piece of coding is just making the game from the very ground up, while still maintaining like the original game idea, if that makes sense to you. And there are like many games that are like inherently different from one another. For example, the Resident Evil 2 remake, it changes and modernizes the gameplay while still being Resident Evil 2. We have, for example, Shadow of the Colossus, which is like the very same game, but new 3D models, new assets, new lighting, new illumination, but essentially everything's still there. When we talk about a remaster, it can be like a poor remaster or a very good remaster. For example, some remasters may only change, like upscale some textures, upscale the resolution, the core resolution of the game, upscale a little bit of the frame rate. There's a huge difference between the frame rate of the game and the frame rate of the animations, so they can upscale the frame rate of the animations, the frames of the animations, as well as the frame rate of the core game. This Diablo 2 remaster is like, well, shit, dude. They are taking the original, the game is just Diablo 2. It's the old Diablo 2 that you play throughout the course of the years. You'll be able to play that. It's pretty much the same thing. The only thing that they are doing is that they are changing that 2D sprite and they're placing on top of it a 3D one with better illumination and changes. That's why it looks so goddamn amazing. I will be having screenshots for like the in-zoom characters that portray a little bit more like more seeable, more tangible what we can expect of this remaster. But essentially it's something like it happened to the Halo anniversary. when you were playing, you could just like press a button and you were in the original game. It's pretty much the same thing. It's the same Diablo. There are some quality of life improvements in here, but it's the same Diablo 2. They are going to change the cutscenes, and we are going to complain about that. I'm pretty goddamn sure that we are going to complain about them, because back in the day, they might look cringy to you now, but back in the day, oh boy, those la creme de la creme. They were beautiful, beautiful cutscenes, dude. With that being said, another question that pops out is it's going to be couch co-op. Diablo 3 is one of the greatest couch games that are out there right now. And the question popped out, of course, if that's going to be a thing in Diablo 2 Resurrected, which is going to be 8 people online co-op. And well, sadly, yeah, this is what they said. Quote, we looked at it. I'm a big co-op player. I play Diablo 3 with my 2 sons all the time in couch co-op. It's our Christmas tradition. And so that was something we really looked and wanting to do with Diablo 2. But as we started to get into it, the amount of code and the UI we would have to touch to make that work felt like it was going to change a lot. And we were a little bit worried about the kinds of changes we would have to make that work seamlessly. So there you have it. There won't be any couch co-op in this one, which, like, we're always complaining about they change stuff, and then we complain when they don't change the stuff that we want to. I think that co-op, couch co-op is something that we would have loved to have, but I mean, anyways, it is what it is. So far, by the looks of it, by the things that we discussed in the video, which are all official from interviews, let's say, if they manage to keep up those promises, because Warcraft 3 Reforged. Yeah. Anyways, that being said, do let me know, guys, in the comments below. Are you excited about this Diablo 2 Resurrected? I certainly am. My merry old me little James from my childhood is very excited about this one. That being said, I'll see you beautiful, beautiful gamers in the next one. Don't you ever forget that each and every single one of you are beautiful people. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe, stay awesome. I'll see you later.